Welcome, everybody, to This Is Difficult, the podcast. Literally nonsense incarnate. No, we talk about video game and video game-related topics, and here we have a juicy one for you in which I know none of the details of at all. I'm just kind of hyping it up, and I feel like it's warranting that hype, right? Right?
Shit.
Yeah, probably.
Us. People love us. Listen to that crowd. I am your co-host, Lord Yeshua, Josh in the flesh, and we are on Paul Ryugami-san's channel. There he is. Yes. Hello. And there's another letdown. It's Zach himself. Woohoo! We bring you the three most attractive gamers of all time. In the Guinness Book of World Records. I probably could have saved that for a separate. Yeah, I wish that weren't true. So much attention, guys. Damn. Anyway, let's pass the ball off to Paul so we can see what we're chock full of today.
Yeah, well, welcome back, guys. It's been a couple weeks. Yeah, we skipped last week. We're at our new time. This is our second episode of our new time. Excited about it. Still adjusting to it. I'm gonna be honest with you.
A little.
9 o'clock is a little late on a Monday for me.
It's also my first day off, so I'm like just
Wham, Paul. It's 10 o'clock here.
We literally are in concurrent like 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
All three different
It actually
zones.
Goes in that order too. No, it doesn't. It goes.
No, it
It doesn't.
It does for our screens, not for the actual.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're getting used to it, you know, like I have my whole work day and then I go do karate and then have a quick dinner and then it's podcast time, you know. So
good.
I have my whole work day, do a bunch of stuff around the house, inevitably fall asleep and then have to wake up for the podcast.
Well, there you go.
At
least you
get
like RPG over here.
This is like my only day off, so I technically I'm off tomorrow, but I do a lot of my like house shit.
RPD out here setting alarms to make it to the podcast.
Aww.
We appreciate it.
I set like 5 alarms.
So how have you guys been,
perfect, guys?
How have you guys been?
Yeah, I've been working my ass off, and yeah. I don't even know anything else going on in my life aside from that.
Right on.
Right.
It's good though. I wish I could get more gaming in lately. Mostly just Elden Ring, and I'm really looking forward to Kirby, Crystal Shards, which is hilarious because I haven't even touched Forgotten Name, I guess. Kirby and the Forgotten Name. I literally Forgotten Land? Is that actually the name of the game?
Sure.
Yeah, right. I haven't even gotten like 6 hours into that game, and I'm already more excited about a fucking 1997 whatever game, 2000 game coming out again for the Switch.
Yeah, you know, well, so here's the thing, like last time we were all together, I think I compared the new Kirby to Kirby 3 on the Super Nintendo. Yep. It looks great. It plays fine, but there's just something missing from it. Yeah. There's just like an element missing that makes it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. And co-op, it's fine, but it's not great like other Kirby's, you know.
And I see people talking about Crystal Shards coming back and they're like the first 3D experience in Kirby, and I'm like, that's true, that was the first 3D experience, and that's like as 3D as Kirby really ever needed to be. It is a platformer, and to transform it into an adventure game, it's just like not the same game. That's kind of touching on our topic, but we're far from that.
We'll
save it. We'll get there. But anyway, yes, I have no idea where we were.
Well, you were telling us what game you were playing, and you did that.
Yeah, should I reveal that I'll save that for gaming news too, because we have that coming up. I'm just spoiling all our segments.
Cool. Well, I mean, yeah. Zach, how about you? What was playing the games? Any highlights?
No, honestly. So like, so 2 weeks ago, I was stuck at the car garage getting new brakes, so I just sat and played Pokemon Green for a while.
Sounds nice.
I am now up to the power plant and have not played anymore. Just because I ran out of time. Zapdos
is harder than Mewtwo, I think. Honestly,
right?
You only have Ultra Balls at that point. It's really hard, actually.
Yeah.
Like I've saved right before, and I one time had to do like 150 balls and like several restarts. I remember this very vividly, and I was like in my 20s. I was like, why is this so horrible? It was literally like 10 attempts.
Well,
like,
I can tell you why. The strategy, the prevailing thought line is weaken him, put him to sleep. Ultra Ball.
See, I never do sleep.
The problem is
sleep is clutch.
It is. The problem is I can't read it. So I have no idea what my sleep ability is.
You just need to get a Snorlax.
Well, I don't have any Pokemon that have sleep abilities that I know of.
Butterfree.
I'm going to have to. Yeah, Thanks, Josh. I'm gonna have to go through and find my Butterfree that's like
Just
10,
learn Japanese
13
real
levels
quick.
too low.
Well, just let him stack. Give him high speed or some shit, and then just like literally Zapdos is the fastest legendary though, so it's actually kind of hard.
Yeah. So it doesn't.
Yeah.
So like I'm just save scumming it honestly at this point, and my battery's dead right now, so I'm just like whatever. I honestly should probably have the Game Boy plugged in right now, but I don't. So yeah, that was 2 weeks ago, and then this past week, Alex and I tried to finish Gears Tactics. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But other than that, I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous out all week.
Yes.
Low humidity, little light breeze, somewhere up in the high 60s, low 70s.
Did you see the blood moon? Also,
I saw it last night out my window. I looked out. I was like, "Man, the moon looks fucking weird."
Yeah, all I could see was this looks cool because it was
blood moon, super flower blood moon.
Do they come up with new names every time?
So
and it's
meaning
more elaborate.
Super is like the time it happens, and it's full. And then flower is a full moon in May. Blood is an eclipse during a full moon. So it's literally like all that. I think that's actually real, but it does sound like a Magic card name.
No, dude, it sounds like someone was playing way too much Mario.
Yeah,
and just like, oh, I'm gonna name it after Fireflower. That's great.
Yeah,
literally. It was cloudy yesterday for the first time in quite a while, so I did not see the blood moon. But last week, perfect bicycling weather. I rode about 23 miles just for funsies. Nice. And I intend to do that again this weekend because it's supposed to be gorgeous.
That's awesome. I've been riding my bike a lot. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, gaming. I'm about to dig into the old. What is the name of the trilogy? The Illusion trilogy. Is it just?
I don't think it has. I don't think it has an official name.
I think that's my next thing. Like, you really inspired me. I put it like on my short list.
I was actually just talking to Zach about that before the show. I personally am not enjoying.
Don't you dare say it.
Illusion of Gaia as much as I enjoyed Soul Blazer. Now, I haven't given it much of a chance
because I've beaten it already.
Okay,
so I'm gonna be going.
I haven't given it much of a chance. I'll give it more of a chance, but there's a couple factors involved. Number one, like the basic loop of the game to me isn't as fun as Soul Blazer was.
Fair.
And then number two, I know I love. Actually, there's probably three reasons. Yeah, I know I love Terranigma, so like I kind of want to just jump to Terranigma, but at the same time, I want to complete the whole trilogy. But what's really killing me is I started playing Tales of Fantasia.
Oh, good one.
And it's so fucking good.
So good, yeah.
That I kind of want to play that instead. I don't.
Have the cart? Oh.
There is no English cart.
Well,
you can get a right. I've got it on my flash cart, so I am playing it on hardware, but it's on a flash cart. But it's so good, it's so fun that I kind of want to just play that instead. And so I haven't played any Super Nintendo games because I feel like I'm at like an impasse.
We'll say, well, how far are you into Illusion? Because I will say,
not very far. Not very far.
For me, like, it starts out super basic, like a very ordinary RPG, and I almost like get my memories with that. And what's the mana one? I can't remember it now. Why?
Secret of Mana.
Yeah, like literally the most famous mana. I get the beginnings of those confused all the time because of how similar they are and like basic and RPGs, but Illusion like expands incredibly, and I literally
Secret of Mana does too. It's so huge.
It does. Secret of Mana. That's like a 10 out of 10. Absolutely. Yeah. But I'm telling you, if you put power through, there was really like the best story arcs on a Super Nintendo game in Illusion. It's just you kind of do got to power through.
That makes sense. Yeah, I will. I just like the beginning hasn't impressed me a lot, and so I will get back into it and finish
Chrono Trigger also is like 10 out of 10. It's hard to like top that.
Yeah. But as for games that I played over the last couple weeks, I haven't played a lot, honestly, either. But I played two really freaking awesome samurai roguelikes.
Were they called Elden Ring?
They were called Elden Ring. No.
Each of them, two different games.
So one of them is called Samurai Bringer, and it's a top-down, kind of almost Zelda-like experience with... it's 3D graphics, but it's very stylized and like pixelated. Almost looks like if you made a Super Nintendo game 3D. and you're playing as samurai, and you've got a ton of different gear combinations and ability combinations, and like there's so many, like it's so hard to explain how many different combinations you have, and you just kind of discover as you go, and you become this like god of a samurai, and it's very fun. Yeah, it's a very fun game. I played that last week for Samurai Saturday, and then this week for Samurai Saturday, I checked out the remake of Getsu Fumuden.
No idea.
So
I've heard of it.
Getsu Fumuden was a side-scrolling samurai Nintendo
Paul prides
game.
himself on proper pronunciation of Japanese names.
I don't know how
I would have messed that up 150 times.
Okay, say it how you would say it.
Well, I haven't read it. I only heard you say it just now.
Damn. All right.
Anyway,
well, anyway. So it was a original Nintendo game, and it's a side-scrolling samurai game. Almost. I would say almost like a Metroid-like.
Metroid. I knew you were gonna say that.
In fact, it might have come out in conjunction with Metroid. I think.
It's like a power-up type game.
No, well, so you know how there's a samurai version of Zelda. Yes, did you know this?
Which one again? Maybe I don't know.
It's called something magical castle, forbidden castle, something. I don't remember the name of it. But there's
mystical,
poor translations with Paul.
Yeah.
Mystical Quest?
No. Anyway, so when Zelda first came out, they released 2 games in that style. One was Zelda, and one was this samurai game. They did the same thing with Metroid. One was Metroid, and one was Getsu Fumuden. I might have just made that up. So RPD, thank God he's here because he corrected me. It's the same team as NES Castlevania. Anyway, it's cool. But the new one is a roguelike that's very similar to Dead Cells, only samurai. Yeah. And awesome. It's got a really awesome like loot mechanic. And the one thing that I couldn't figure out was how to like actually power up your character. I know you can. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So, but it's cool. It's very fun. It's got some really cool boss battles, really awesome aesthetics. It's kind of almost looks like it's painted. And yeah, it's very cool. So I was super into that. And those are the games that I played.
I was watching a video on Elden Ring where this sword master, it's kind of on topic, where this literal sword master in real life was comparing like how realistic Elden Ring was. And he was like, everything is really realistic except for the Japanese swordplay. And he said Dead Cells is the most accurate. He was like, this game is more accurate than actually Elden Ring is as far as like handling Japanese swords and stuff. I was like, huh. I'll show you the video.
I don't think this guy's a real sword.
He is.
So I've actually seen the opposite. Legit, I've seen the opposite, and also I've studied a little bit of Japanese sword technique.
Said he was a master.
But the experts that I've seen say that the Japanese swordplay is the most realistic swordplay in Elden Ring. All the other stuff is super goofy.
Yeah.
But
that's what I thought. I thought he was gonna say that. Yeah. I was like, surely the sheath into the like slap down fucking unsheath one hit is like the best thing. But
is perchance his name Ty?
Maybe he had a huge mustache and tattoos on his arms.
I don't know if Samurai Ty would have done that, but no,
Samurai Ty wouldn't have done that.
we had this guy in college who would like stand absolutely motionless in the middle of the like the field with his wooden sword for hours. And then all of a sudden just burst into action and just slay invisible zombies for like 10 minutes.
We had a guy like that.
I never did that, guys. I never did that. And I also never took my wooden sword to my acting class to show them what I did when I was alone.
Yeah. I mean, my friend,
I never did that. We didn't have an exercise where you had to do like an embarrassing thing that you do when no one else is around, and I totally didn't bring my wooden sword.
No, not that kind of embarrassing thing.
I didn't do that. Anyhow, we have a semi-new segment. Kind of, it's a new old segment.
Reinvention of an old segment.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to bring back news in a way that's not tedious. So instead of listing out a whole bunch of shit that that we may or may not care about, I kind of want to see if there's something that happened in gaming recently that really stuck out to you that, you maybe cared about? So...
And I will preface this by saying
have two things. Yeah.
we don't have to bring something every single week. It's just hey,
There's
something
enough
resonate
that I
with
feel
you?
like we could.
Yeah, but we don't have to.
Someone should have something. Yeah.
Zach, why don't we start with you, man?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so my big one was kind of a bit of an oversight on the part of our podcast.
What?
But I think
whoopsies. We've never done that.
Well, no, I phrase it that way because it wasn't just us. When we talk about, or when I was talking about the Batman Arkham games, and we got all hyped up about Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and the inevitable This Is Difficult versus that will happen when those games drop, we were, Paul and Adam and Chamali and I were all calling dibs on characters for Gotham Knights under the assumption that it was going to be 4-player. Turns out they had only planned for 2-player.
Whoopsies.
Wow.
And it seems like they're going to retool it. They've delayed the game again, and it does look like we will see 4-player out of it. If they had stuck with that, that would have been a colossal oversight, and like that's a huge selling point on the game.
Yeah, it really is. I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I can see playing 2-player in Arkham City, for example. In fact, I think I'm not sure. There's one of them that I believe you can. But it works for that
type. Robin or some shit.
For this, you've marketed it as there are 4 playable characters here.
Yeah.
Like poor Adam gets stuck with.
That's how I thought Elden Ring was marketed too. Like literally, and then everyone's like, "Nope, it's 3."
I've read somewhere that it was up to 6, and that is definitely
we were
not
all
true.
wrong. And I was like, "Wait, I didn't even know."
Well, so actually, we're not
3
wrong.
is so random.
You can do up to 6, but it's 3 on your team and 3 on like a team you're invading.
3v3 invading.
Yeah,
and that's totally relying on if you come upon a 3-party person.
Yeah, but in regards to Zach's thing, like we totally plotted out like who we were gonna play as and all that stuff.
We know. We can say it right now. I'm playing as Nightwing. Paul's playing as Red Hood. Both of us will be in costume for this, we believe. That's going to happen. Chamali's got Tim Drake and poor Adam stuck with Babs, but and we're gonna convince Adam to put a red wig on.
No one wants to be Batman. Huh?
There's no Batman. Batman's dead.
Huh?
Batman's dead.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
So, but like they also dropped a like teaser trailer, gameplay trailer, the day after this news sort of started bubbling to the surface. It looks real rough.
Ugh.
Like the gameplay
before.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it wasn't rough before, but like
decisions that are bizarre. The environment looks great.
I thought it looked fine, but I also am kind of far removed from like the comics and also the previous games. To me, it looked fine.
I think I'm over graphics at this point. Like, I just want a fucking good game.
It's not the graphics, Josh. It's the aesthetic, the design choices.
Oh, like the actual like
Nightwing has a weird glider thing.
They all have he has
like Jason Todd has this weird like spirit energy stuff that he uses to like mirror's edge around the around Gotham. And it's
he can like trampoline off the off of his magic.
Sound like a thing he's ever been able to do.
Green stuff. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Like we're still hyped about it. We're still gonna play it for sure. Paul and I will still be in costume.
Yeah, no, Nightwing's got a Fortnite glider for sure.
But yeah, it's like where it seems to me like they read maybe a comic that was tangentially relevant somewhere and based an entire game on it.
I hate that.
And so like it's not looking like a high rating, honestly. But we're gonna play it, and
it just got another delay. We got high hopes. We'll see.
I feel like all games are getting delays right now, and there is a reason. I don't care if everyone thinks this is wrong, but I think Elden Ring shook the game shook the game like hardcore, like in the gaming industry. Like people are reconsidering.
That's actually kind of relevant to my news topic. But I want you to go first because mine's kind of long. So.
I have my first quick one that I'm really weirded out about is that Kirby Crystal Shards is a T-rated port. We're getting a T-rated port of a Kirby game. So,
wait, what?
Yes, fact check it.
Yeah.
Fact check.
This seems very strange. Because it wasn't original 18, was it?
It wasn't. It was a KA.
It was KA, yeah.
I think it was even like improved into E when E. I think it's KA and E. I want to say. Like,
I'm double checking that, but yeah,
there was some kind of redo.
Oh yeah, KA was kids to adults.
That was E. That was basically E. I thought KA is like the stupidest rating. I'm like,
yeah,
there's also
you
KO.
are absolutely correct, Josh. Kirby fans are laughing at the fact that the Switch re-release of Kirby and the Crystal Shards has been giving a T for teen rating because of blood and violence.
Hell
blood
yeah.
and violence. And let me illustrate: the only violence in the entire game is swallowing people whole. But there is a final.
Is that
boss.
violence?
I don't know
if it's consensual.
Yeah, it's pretty forced swallowing. The final boss of the game, which is a 100% completion boss, you cannot get to this boss unless you get 100% of the crystal shards. It is literally an angel-esque eyeball boss, but it's no different than any other eyeball boss. There are some.
Is it like the have you seen like the true, like the biblical definition of what a angel looks like?
Oh, where it's like
terrifying.
Yeah, it's probably close to that. There are also, it does bleed, but it's more like clouds of red mist than like actual blood. On top of that, I remember me and my friends always used to joke about this back in the day, that it has one form where it kind of puts out this weird thing underneath of it and it looks like a dick. And I'm just going to say it out loud. That possibly could have been something to do with it, but I don't think so. But like everyone I know that's beaten the game is like, here comes the penis phase. Like literally, it kind of might. And also, there are some things. Oh, I actually didn't think about this. There is a scene where the artist friend you have paints something blurred. Like, you know what I mean? The artist like paints a bunch of shit and like it comes off.
Like one of his French girls?
Yeah, exactly. Like wearing just this. Just nothing. It's Kirby. But there's one scene where you're walking to the level and this person you befriended like paints like food you can eat and they paint this blurred object. And it's literally just a blurred out object comes off and you eat it and you gain your health. And everyone at the time, I swear to God, said it was a blurred penis.
Oh, yeah.
But there's no way to know because it was intentionally blurred initially. So it's
like that was part of it, yeah.
Like it was the blurred was, but I think like I feel like even the creators would have been like, yeah, we were trying to make like a sex joke, but we blurred it intentionally. Just I'm like, so that could have had something to do with it. I doubt that'll get unblurred or ever would have been. My other news that I'm really excited about is there's been a lot of data mining in Elden Ring, actually. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but they're pretty much uncovering the DLC right now. There's like portions of the map that are like completely blank spaces for like new continents and stuff like that. Like in the middle of the map, there's like a cloud, literally like right in the middle of the map, and all the divine towers are around it. Like, you know what I mean? Like on the, like how it's like geographically located. And someone there's like a flying hack where you can like fly on torrent and like kind of like walk around in the space. And there's literally like an empty square here. And there's also like tons of other data mines, like undiscovered dialogue and like all the stuff that like is like not relevant yet. Yeah. And like pieces of story.
I mean, it's obvious they're gonna come out with.
It's obvious they're gonna, but I think it's. I personally don't think this game needs DLC. But
I don't think it does either. But I'll eat it up. And also, the game outsold Call of Duty.
It's okay. So it is the fastest selling non-Nintendo Japanese company made game ever. Apparently,
that's wild.
Isn't that amazing? They quoted non-Nintendo in the article I read, though, so I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it very likely, in the long run, could be the best-selling Japanese company game ever. I could see this potentially outselling Ocarina of Time and stuff like that.
Potentially.
I don't know what the highest-selling Nintendo game is, but I assume it's a Zelda game. Maybe. But yeah, From Software, they're on the map. So I'm excited for DLC. Again, we don't need it, but I want it. I'll eat it up. Give me another 100 hours, baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Bosses. So anyways, that's
the original, Josh.
Huh? So
the original.
The original? The fastest selling Japanese company game.
Which one was it?
The original Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And this game again is only 3 months old. Elden Ring.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Absurd how impressive this game is, and how it's grown. Like it's blown everyone out of the water. It continues to.
Yeah. So my topic, it's kind of a two-parter. The first thing is just kind of to lead into it. So the only 2 Xbox exclusive games that were coming out this year were Redfall and what the hell is the name of the space one?
Bluefall.
Sky
Mountain.
Sky Starfield.
Starfield?
Most
Are you
anticipated game. Yes, Starfield.
Two exclusives for the
Two
entire
exclusives
console
for
year?
Xbox this year,
Fucking
and
sell that shit.
both from Bethesda. Both have been delayed until next year.
God, because of Elden Ring. So wait, you're telling me there's
Maybe.
no
I don't think it's
There are
because of Elden
no-
Ring. There's a lot of other issues, but certainly the success and the polish of Elden Ring could possibly have influenced them into being like, hey, maybe we want to make these games better before we.
You're telling me that there are 0 exclusives for Xbox coming out this year?
That I know of. Yeah.
That is a console killer. Holy shit.
So I want to.
Really bad.
Zach,
Before
what were
you
you gonna
jump
say?
on, Josh, I said I think Xbox is circling the drain as we know it.
Yeah.
Like they don't know what they're doing. Like Xbox Game Pass has so much potential, so much untapped potential.
Really
Well,
does.
Game Pass is awesome. And we know that it's the best deal in gaming. Now that
Agreed.
actually leads me into my main topic, which is PlayStation released their list of games that they're going to put on the PlayStation Plus, which is their version of Game Pass, right? So there's a lot, so I'm going to rapid fire these guys. Please no interruptions. I'm going to just get through these, and we're going to kind of like compare the difference between, you know, the philosophy of PlayStation versus the philosophy of Xbox in this type of marketplace. So for the original PSP or PlayStation and PSP, you've got for first party studios, you've got Ape Escape, Hot Shots Golf, IQ Intelligence Cube, Jumping Flash, Siphon Filter, Super Stardust Portable. For third-party games, you've got Mr. Driller, Tekken 2, World Party, Worms Armageddon. So those are PlayStation and PlayStation Portable. For PS4, we have Ape Escape 2, Ark the Lad, Twilight of Spirits, Dark Cloud 2, Fantavision, Hot Shots Tennis, Jak 2, Jak 3, Jak X Combat Racing, Jak and Daxter, the Persecutor Legacy, Rogue Galaxy, Siren, and Wild Arms 3. And then for third-party games, you've got Baja, Edge of Control HD, Bioshock Remastered, Borderlands, the Handsome Jack Collection, Bulletstorm, Full Clip Edition, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, Lego Harry Potter Collection. This is PS4, okay? Now, for the PS3 games, which are streaming only, first party, you have Crash Commando, Demon Souls, Echo Chrome, Hot Shots Golf Out of the Bounds, Hot Shots Golf World Invitational, Eco, Infamous, Infamous 2, Infamous Festival of Blood, Loco Roco Coco Roco Show.
Sounds great.
That sounds right.
Kokorocho. There you go. Motorstorm Apocalypse, Motorstorm RC, Puppeteer, Rain's a cool game. Ratchet and Clank, Quest for Booty, Ratchet and Clank, A Crack in Time, Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus, Resistance 3, Super Stardust HD, Tokyo Jungle, When Vikings Attack. And then third party, you've got Asura's Wrath, awesome fucking game. Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, Devil May Cry HD Collection, Enslaved Odyssey to the West, Fear, Lost Planet 2, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, and Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. And then there's more. What is this? These are also via streaming. I don't know why this wasn't in the... Oh, this is for the premium plan. So that, I guess, was the basic plan. Here's the premium. You've got... Oh, this is the same fucking list. Okay, there is more, though. So bear with me before we end this. Okay, so there's also PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games that are with, like, the deluxe plan that you'll have access to. So you've got Alienation, Bloodborne, Concrete Genie, Days Gone, Dead Nation Apocalypse, Death Stranding, Demon Souls, Destruction All-Stars, Everybody's Golf, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, God of War, Gravity Rush 2, Gravity Rush Remastered, Horizon Zero Dawn, Infamous First Light, Infamous Second Son, Knack, Little Big Planet 3, Loco Roco Remastered, Loco Roco 2 Remastered, Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Matterfall, Medieval, Patapon Remastered, Patapon 2 Remastered, Resogun, Returnal, Shadow of the Colossus, Tearaway Unfolded, The Last Guardian, Last of Us Remastered, Last of Us Left Behind, Until Dawn, Uncharted Nathan Drake's Collection, Uncharted 4, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and then Wipeout Omega Collection. So that's everything, which is a lot, and there's some good stuff on there, conspicuously missing PS2 games, I might add. But here's the thing. I see a lot of like PlayStation first party greatest hits in this list.
Yeah, same.
And not a lot else, right? Not a lot else to offer. Whereas you have Game Pass is doing like day one, the biggest and best games with a lot of companies. They're doing a ton of really good independent games, like indie games and multiplayer focused games. You just don't see a lot of that in this. And I think there's like a huge discrepancy in the philosophy between these two streaming platforms. One clearly has a focus on first-party story-driven games, PlayStation, whereas Xbox is out here giving people, everything except for exclusives,
which is kind of fucked because like PlayStation's like, oh, you just want exclusives, cool, here you go, probably all on the premium package, and then Xbox is literally giving you indie games basically and Fortnite and shit, and it's like. Yeah, it's confusing.
You can't get Fortnite through Game Pass.
You really can't?
No,
it's a free game. What am I saying?
Well, it's free, but it's through Epic.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting that Epic made that, yeah.
But anyhow, those were my things, so...
Damn.
Yes.
Wow.
Let's
wait till Nintendo gets their hand. I feel like Nintendo's scared to do a Game Pass combination with anyone now. I used to think Xbox
Game Pass is doing Nintendo Online, and they're just going to keep putting more classic games out there. But you're right. I don't think they're going to do third party at all, really, other than shit that's only on their console.
Nintendo is really holding their shit close to their chest. Like they are like, oh, we're holding gold. You guys can like literally throw your whatever shit out there, but like we know how valuable our IPs are.
Yeah,
like, we will charge you $60 for a Wind Waker HD remake that was already on the Wii U. That's happening. Yeah. Like,
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I'll give you fucking $60 for that. I'll give you $60.
I do wish, because I mean, that was like the main game that I bought for my Wii U right before the Switch came out, and like in my head, I was like, well, I got this digitally on the Wii U. Of course, I'm going to be able to play it on the Switch, and that never came.
The reason is because the main controller was, and I will say. The main reason to own the Wii U was for Wind Waker, I think, because
I mean, there's
integration
some
with
shit,
yeah. But let's be real. The biggest upgrade, Wind Waker, not only was the game fully upgraded in every way, but the controller was your start screen, your item swap menu, literally on the fly. I could be on the item menu while playing the game, just like in Elden Ring. Literally a game that came out in 2003, and I could fucking slap my slingshot over there real quick. Just into my X button and then use it right away. Like this was a genius design, and I think they don't know how to do it on the Switch. You know what I mean? Like they're deleting the start menu basically by porting it over to the Switch, because you can't hold a handheld Switch and cast it onto your TV at the same time like you could with the Wii U. The Wii U had your controller and cast onto the TV at the same time. So I don't even know how they're gonna do this. It is still a highly probable rumor that we're getting Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD though.
Yeah, there was some rumors that kind of counter that, but the fact that those are already so essentially this is what that boils down to. The company that remastered them was allegedly not contacted to remaster them for the Switch. But here's the deal: they were already remastered for the Wii U.
They're already remastered.
You know, so really it's just a matter of porting that over, which like almost any company could do.
Nintendo owns it at this point. It's like, thanks for the work, guys, but now it's literally our IP.
Yeah. So some people use that as evidence to say they're not coming, but that's Not
I think
necessarily
it's a back pocket
neither here nor
move.
there,
I think
honestly, right?
Nintendo is about to use a back pocket move like real soon too, because we're in May,
Mhm.
and the announcement for something like a small window, like we got a Origami King, like now announcement for a July launch. Like we're not getting shit.
Zach,
And
by the way,
so-
that was the Zelda news that I wasn't going to mention. On
Yeah, I know.
What?
I know.
Oops.
No, it's cool.
We're
It's
definitely
cool.
not gonna- Hey, we
It's-
haven't mentioned Blank of the Blank in a few weeks, so
We haven't been on in a few weeks.
I know. What if it's like the best game ever beats Elden Ring? I would love that. I would love nothing more than for Breath 2 to be the best game ever made. But
Would you though?
I would love that.
I would love
Really?
that.
If it was the best game, if it was better than Elden Ring, I would openly say so. And I would be
Yeah.
like, this is a fucking amazing Zelda game. Kill Elden Ring. Just kidding.
You
But
heard it
like,
here first, folks.
at best, it can be Elden Ring with like NPC towns.
You guys ready to switch gears?
Let's
switch-
switch gears.
Oh,
Hey.
You see what he did there? You see what he did there?
All right, Zach's got a review, so I'm going to switch it over to the review screen and let him take it away. Ah, it's the wrong one.
Hey, what game did you put up?
Wait, let me switch back to here.
Just a picture of Paul.
No, it's got the wrong screen. Hold on, let me fix this.
Oh, I gotta see what happens. What comes up.
I need to go into fill time. Talk amongst yourselves.
Dead
I gotta go
Paul.
into studio mode.
That is. I don't even know what that is. Is
My
that even
God.
OBS? Jesus, it looks like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chat
yeah.
got split.
Ay,
Talk
ay,
amongst
ay.
ourselves. The only other thing I can think of that can fill a 30-second time slot is that the high rumors and back pocket use of the Game Boy Advance store and the Game Boy store on the Switch. This is like
Oh, I can feel
Nintendo,
that.
pull a card out of the deck already and give us something, because like you're in a
Oh,
dead zone right now.
Josh, having just purchased all the original Metroid cartridges and having those sitting over there, I was like, only one I don't have like a clear reference on
Yeah.
is Metroid Zero Mission. So I watched a long play of that over the last couple of days. God, that game is
Zero Mission. Zero Mission is incredibly good.
All right,
I
we're
want-
good to go, boys.
nothing
If you
would
want
be
to take
better
it
than
away,
having-
Zach.
Nothing would be better than having Fusion on the Switch. Let's just
Yeah,
say that.
True.
That would be godly.
Okay.
Bring it
So I have not quite finished Gears Tactics yet, but it's merely a formality at this point. Alex and I have been playing this for over a year on stream every other Wednesday. It's hella long and not all that difficult. It's just we're playing it extremely slowly, maybe. So I'm reviewing Gears Tactics a little bit early. All we have to do still is watch the end credits or the end cutscene and roll the credits. Really just got to finish that last mission. We know how to do it. It's just a process. And I'll get into that in a moment. So yeah, Gears Tactics developed by Splash Damage and the Coalition for an April 28th of 2020, right at the top of the pandemic release, which that timed that well. Everybody locked down, nothing to do. Play Gears Tactics. Really long game. We played it on PC over Parsec, which is not necessarily the way they intended, but it should have been. It is a much better cooperative experience than it would be playing it solo. I think playing it solo would have ended up being incredibly frustrating. It is available also on Xbox One and Xbox Series SX, but I honestly, I don't know how you would go about playing that with a controller. I think it would be very, very clunky. We're playing.
You can do RTSs with a controller too.
Yeah, and certainly Alex has played XCOM with the controller. This is an XCOM so it's doable, but I just personally, it makes so much more sense to me to do mouse and keyboard on this game. Especially over Parsec. What did I like about it? It gives us a really interesting insight into the Gears story. This game takes place before Gears Judgment, which is canonically the first, chronologically the first game in the series. And it actually focuses on characters who aren't introduced until Gears 4 and 5. So it's deep backstory on very minor side character. Well, 3 very minor side characters and 1 extremely major character in Gears 5. And it also gives sort of a backstory on the main protagonist outside of the Phoenix family in Gears 4 and 5, Kate Diaz. So this is actually, it's her parents are 2 of the protagonists, 2 of the named characters in Gears Tactics. And that sort of attention to detail that the Coalition the Coalition was not the original developers for Gears. And when they picked it up from whatever it was initially, there was concern that they weren't going to show the amount of love and respect to the Gears franchise, because it was known that they were taking it a different direction. They were taking it away from Marcus and JD Phoenix and toward this new character that nobody had ever heard of. Turns out they did it by way of the Phoenix family and made it really interesting. So fleshing out that backstory, fleshing out that early backstory is really fascinating and interesting. The gameplay is terrific. They made a absolutely seamless jump from the third person over the shoulder cover shooter that we know to an XCOM like, while preserving the heart and soul of Gears. So, I mean, the most iconic Gears move is chainsawing a locust in half with the butt end of your gun. You can still do that. And when you do it, it still cuts to that third person angle, exactly the same shot that you get from the other games. And it does it so quickly that you don't even notice it. And honestly gives you a chance to sort of recover your brain and plan your next move. So I go and saw a drone in half, and I'm already like, I'm using that chainsaw animation to think about what I'm doing next. So the transition from the third person shooter to the XCOM like was really, really good. There's a couple of missions in the game that I really didn't like. They just were way too hard. The stipulations they put on your party were a bit obnoxious. They would force you to use characters that just didn't make sense for things like a take and hold mission. If you're supposed to capture an objective, you want high mobility, high survivability, and they would force you to take characters like snipers who are just squishy. Now, we would just kind of save scum our way through that, and it was fine. We didn't do any like specific saving. We just used the checkpoints, but like it got really frustrating. There was one mission, I think RPD was watching at the time. We had to try it 7 different times, and one of those was a complete restart and respec the team. The finale is one of those. Also, it forces you to take the 4 named characters instead of the characters that you've spent X number of hours speccing to your heart's content and really making your own. You can't take those awesome characters. We have this team, we call them Team Duck. It's Big Duck and Little Duck. It's a scout and a heavy, and we always deploy them together. And they're like our iconic duo. They appear in every mission we can drop them on because they're so versatile. And they would not let us put them in on the final mission.
That's a
you
bummer.
have to the named characters, and I'm like, off camera after our first attempt at the final, I said to Alex, is there a world where we just respec our named characters into being our custom characters because that's just what we need to survive this mission? And he kind of looked at me like, I don't want to, but yeah. And so like our scout, we have another scout who is a grenade specialist, and we're like, I guess we just spec Reyna into something that, like, canonically from Gears 5 she is not, but we're making her a grenade specialist because that's what we need to survive this mission. It's just a little disappointing, and you do become attached to the characters who are not the named characters.
Sure, because you put work into developing those characters.
Exactly. Yeah. And initially when they give you the first 2 named characters, Gabe Diaz and Sid Redburn, you're like, oh, these guys are pretty cool. Iconic duo. You got one with the chainsaw, one with the retro lancer. That's me and Alex to a T. Great. We're going to use these a whole bunch. And then as we started to meet some of these other characters, just these randomly generated recruits, 2 of whom happen to have the same nickname, Duck. That's why we call them the Ducks. They took on a life of their own, and they became so much cooler. And
is there a goose?
There was a goose. Yeah, we did have one goose.
You could do duck goose.
Okay. We could have, but we didn't have any higher slots at the time, and we're like, well, we don't want to fire anybody to pick up goose. So, oh well.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's just randomly AI generated names, and the fact that Duck came up twice tickled us. So there's a couple of problems. There's a known glitch right now that if that sometimes your save doesn't load properly and it kicks you all the way back to the beginning of the mission, which is really frustrating. Yeah, it's so there's it's
this game's been out for a
like,
year and it hasn't been fixed.
It's been out for 2 years, dog.
Oof.
And
well, the Pandy was long. I forgot.
The coalition,
like
the coalition has their focus. I mean, Gears esports is a thing that they're trying to make real.
Mm-hmm.
And awesome. Like, I mean, I guess it is. I don't pay attention to it, but like, the coalition is basically solely focused on the mainline Gears titles, leaving Splash Damage to take care of Gears Tactics. And honestly, I don't really think it's sold well enough for them to care. The game is great. Like, it's really, really well done, and I'm really loving it. I'll go through the rest of the list here. The story is absolutely 100% engaging. We are like really into all these characters. Again, we look for they put your special gears into cutscenes. So they're all cutscenes generated.
I like that.
So, yeah, like in the cutscenes, we'll be like, oh, there's Ralph, and there's Tao, and there's this guy, and it's fun to catch those little glimpses. The actual written story is really neat, and it once again gives you some cool background on the Gears story that you wouldn't ordinarily get. But it doesn't change the end outcome at all of the Gears franchise, which it shouldn't, and that makes perfect sense. It does stand alone. The gameplay, again, very fun, especially co-op. The three of us on the show talk about it all the time. Co-op covers a world of hurt, and realistically, the coalition should know better. They specialize in co-op. They know how to do co-op. They've done horde mode forever. They really should have implemented. Okay, player one takes X, these 2 slots. Player 2 takes these 2 slots. Go at it.
Is it common for tactics games to be co-op though?
I don't think so, but this should have been. Like,
sure.
It's very easy to implement.
Yeah.
In terms of
I mean, you guys basically fudged co-op just by using Parsec. So.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It works, and it should just be that way. Comics and Coffee in the chat points out Mario Rabbids is co-op.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that.
Which is amazing. Isn't it 4-player?
It's doable, and it could be. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with that game. But like
this game's single player, this game's co-op, and the same game, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. So there's just a big overstep there, or misstep. The art is, it's classic Gears art. It looks like a Gears game, especially when the camera goes down to that third person perspective. Even if you just completely whiff a shot. Every once in a while, it'll go down to that third person perspective, and you just feel like you're playing Gears again. So they really did a great job bringing in the Gears feel using the art. Music, same thing. It's Gears music. When I turn on the loading screen, when I'm going live, it doesn't really discernibly sound any different than when I would load up Gears 5. Same sort of stuff. Sound design, yeah, again. Also, it's just Gears. When you rev up that chainsaw, you feel it.
Guns sound like guns. Chainsaws
sound like
chainsaws.
Sound like chainsaws.
Yeah.
Locusts sound like locusts. It's bog standard. How long did it take us? Over a goddamn year. Playing every other week. Now, obviously, I could break that down into hours. I've got my Steam library open here. We've logged almost 60 hours into it, which is significantly longer. Molly and I were talking about this recently. This is significantly longer than we've put into any of the other Gears games. And that's including, so like Gears 4, we played a bunch of horde mode. We didn't even come near it. So this game is way longer just to play
Josh
the campaign.
broke his headset.
I literally can't hear out of my right ear now.
Oh no!
I'm not even kidding. It's just Jade just leaned into me, and I think she pulled the cord a little bit. I'm like, uh-oh, my headset might be fucked
out. So the game was the game difficult? There were bits. There were bits that were tough, but for the most part, it's pretty smooth sailing. All the the story missions are very smooth sailing. I think one of the 3 boss fights we restarted a couple of times, and the boss fight we're working on now is a little more challenging, but only because the boss is huge and doesn't take much damage.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna take him a while. It's not Dark Souls difficult. It's just grindy difficult.
Sure. Yeah.
RPG would I play
difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Would I play a sequel? Sure. If they dropped a Gears Tactics 2, yeah, I'd play it. But again, I would immediately default to Parsec. I would immediately be playing that co-op because it just improves the experience. The fact that you can talk back and forth and be like, oh, I want to send this guy over here. And the other player would be like, well, better idea. What if you grenade first and then go over there and get a little bit closer?
Sure.
That balance mechanic really works very well. So that brings us down to the rating. And I got to say, I'm going to rate this one pretty high. It's
headset.
We've enjoyed the crap out of it. I mean, I think Gears 3-4 era would be my like high 9. My 9.7, 9.6, 9.6, 9.7.
Damn,
like that.
That's amazing.
Gears like 5, a little bit lower because they just tried to shake up a little bit too much and it was kind of weird. So that and this Gears Tactics is certainly better than Gears Judgment. That one's they made a whole bunch of mistakes. Gears 1, 2 were like fine. They just hadn't got the formula down yet. So those are a little bit lower, but I think Gears Tactics comes right in at a low 8, probably like an 8.3.
What does that match up with? That was my last rating, if I'm not mistaken.
You rated. You had.
Or I think Paul had an 8.3 in the last
one.
one.
Paul put Soul Blazer and Pokemon Arceus at 8.3, and I like
both
based
awesome
on
games.
Yeah, Gear Tactics is a great game. Has some faults, has some problems, but I really do think it deserves high praise. Those problems do not hold it back. It's a really cool game.
Excellent.
Definitely worth the investment. It's on Game Pass, so play it for free.
Cool.
I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass.
A game over 8 for free is pretty damn good.
Yeah, right exactly. On. Very fun.
All right, well, let's switch on back. Swing.
Headset is literally fucked now. I've had this headset for almost 4 years.
Oh, well. I mean, like I got my money considering it lasted that long, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So our topic tonight, which, I mean, we have about 5 minutes, so I think we have enough time. It's not a super substantial topic, but we wanted to talk about games that kind of either bend or blend genres.
Yes.
So
give us an example here.
So let's see.
The first thing we need to do is establish a working definition of what is a genre bend and what is a genre
for
blend.
me, my definition of a bend would be when Mario, a platformer game, becomes Luigi's Mansion, mystery adventure game. You know what I mean? And this is technically the same genre. These are both Mario games.
Yeah, but is it a platformer? I don't see Mario as a genre, right? Mario's a character and it's an established franchise, but there's a ton of different Mario games, right? So like the Mario genre would be a 2D platformer, if you asked me, or you could say 3D platformer too, just because the later games are in 3D. But like that's like the classic Mario genre. Now where it goes beyond that, like if it becomes, let's say, Mario Tennis, that's no longer a platformer. That's a sports game.
True.
Though it certainly bends the genre of tennis games, right?
Yeah.
By adding in different abilities.
It doesn't bend the genre of Mario.
Right.
Mario is goofy and does what it. Yeah. Okay,
sure.
I see that.
So the definition that our producer insisted on, which I don't disagree with him on this. And I think the example that I gave just now is a good example of genre bending, right? So genre blending would be when you combine two or more genres. He gave some recent games as an example. V Rising, which is about to come out, is a survival / action RPG, right? So you've got like your survival genre and your action RPG blended together. That's a blended genre. Another one would be Soundfall, which is a rhythm game, but it's also a twin stick shooter, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be blending those two genres together. Whereas bending a genre would be you take a genre and push it to the next level, and a new subgenre is born, right? So like roguelikes, or rogue to roguelite, or RTS to MOBA, auto chess, or like the example I gave where you have your sports game that then becomes, like a Mario sports game, which is significantly different from your traditional sports games.
The way Elden Ring would apply, where a Souls-like game becomes a Souls adventure RPG.
Open world as well. Yeah.
It's like 17 different types of games in one. Platforming even.
Yeah, they added platforming.
They have everything in this game.
Yeah. So, that being said, we have what does it mean to be genre bending versus blending, right? We've defined it. What games would you say got it right? Like, what are some good examples of where you had, and we've named a couple, what are some other examples of games that you think
it's a hard
either
one, honestly,
blended genres or bent genres?
I got a good one. Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight's great.
Hollow Knight takes Dark Souls and Metroidvania and just seamlessly smashes them together.
Yes. Ooh, I got another one.
Well, I do have one more. The other one I was going to throw out there is one I haven't talked about in a while because I got all the way to the end of it and gave up. I was like, I just don't care about this game anymore. But it's a great game. Bioshock.
Oh.
Bioshock is, I mean, it's a first-person shooter, really. But it also has these, kind of, right? It's got puzzle mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it'll take you out of the action and have you solve a puzzle. And it's like, that's really dope.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's also almost like God of War in its story, where like the story is so prominent and you're not used to that in a shooter. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Arkham Horror Mother's Embrace does that to a lesser extent too. It is a, choose your own adventure style story, but it has those tactical RPG elements too. Where it pulls you out to do a quick combat. They are quick. They're not long combats, but it gives you something to break it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think breaking up the monotony of the genre is really what we're talking about here.
Yeah, a similar thing to what Zach just mentioned about Bioshock. I think both, and I don't particularly care for the Borderlands games, but Borderlands and Destiny, I think did both of these things. I think they both bent the genre and blended it by not only making a first-person shooter with RPG, like pretty in-depth RPG mechanics, but then really kind of made a brand new genre of these looter shooters in doing so.
Yeah. The whole like varied guns and like, everything is an upgrade kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. Josh, what are some examples?
I'm trying to think like if I even have an example of this. Like,
sure you do.
Fuck. It's hard for me. An example.
What about Portal?
Portal is always a puzzle game, though. I think
it is. But it's a first-person shooter mechanic, though.
True, it is a first-person shooter mechanic with puzzle variation. Yeah.
I would say that's its own genre. There's really nothing like Portal, right?
It really
is. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Crossbow Training.
Oh my god!
It literally takes Zelda.
Wait, do you think it did that well? Because we're talking about games that got it right.
This did not do well, and it was a free.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next bullet point.
Yeah. I think some other games that got it right, just to shoot some off from the hip, like the Kunio-kun, like the River City sports games, blended. They blended basically like traditional brawlers with sports mechanics, which is really super fun and silly. There's a couple Marvel games on the Super Nintendo produced by Capcom that are platformers.
What did I just got?
Yes. Nice. They're platformers that use like fighting game mechanics for the combat, which is done really well in those games.
We know from listening to me and from seeing Josh play it, Capcom knows their way around a platformer
for sure, and around fighting games.
Exactly. The fact that they can seamlessly integrate those two things,
that's really nice.
Mind-blowing to me. I love that company.
Let's switch to what games got it wrong, because I got a perfect example of someone that tried the same thing and got it horribly wrong, and that is the Batman Forever game adaptation. It came out on all platforms at the time, I think, or maybe it was just Super Nintendo and Game Boy. I actually have it on Game Boy, and I would venture to say it's better on Game Boy, because the monochrome graphics make it easier to see what's going on. But essentially, they make it like it was on Genesis too. Okay, they basically took like Mortal Kombat style, like they did like the digitized characters and put them into this like really shitty platform and gave like kind of basic Mortal Kombat controls, and it's so bad.
It's so bad.
I have one. Have you ever played, and you kind of triggered it just with the name of some random game you said, but Ni no Kuni?
Oh, yeah.
This?
You say they did it bad? Because Ni no Kuni is pretty highly revered. Okay.
I think it's a great game, but they literally, the battle system, you're a mage, and you have 2 other mages and awesome RPG people at any time. You use Pokemon to fight for you, and it's literally a Pokemon-like combat with... Oh, JD, okay? Oh, no. Okay, okay. It's a Pokemon-like combat with, like, everything you want from an RPG on the outside. You know what I mean? Hold up. Wait, Jade's doing a thing right now. I gotta... Hold up.
All right.
I got this. So as much as I love it, it is my all-time favorite game. But Mega Man Zero doesn't hit the Metroid thing. Like we talk about it being close to the Metroidvania. It doesn't quite push that far enough.
Yeah, they tried a little harder in the later ones. But
Yeah,
I think that actually made it worse.
It made it worse. Yeah. Exactly. The best it got was Mega Man Zero 2, when they just kind of let that happen. Where like 001 was very clearly trying to redefine.
Don't log off yet. Jade has to go to the bathroom super bad. Give me one sec.
Yeah. We'll field it. You go take Jade out.
So yeah, 01, like they were clearly trying to buck the Mega Man formula a little bit.
Yeah.
And they added certainly more story to, or more overt story to it, a slightly nonlinear gameplay. So they tried really hard. And you could see what they were doing, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is fine. 02, they just let it happen. 03, they kind of brought it back, and you're like, what's going on here? Because there is more exploration. And then 04, there's like a lot of it, and you're just not, it just doesn't go right. And then they try again in the ZX series, and you're just like, oh my God, now I'm playing Metroid, but I don't want.
I still think it could be done, and I think that Zero is the right place to do it. Yes. But yeah, I think they need to take another crack at it. I hope they take another crack at it because I love those games.
I do too. And Adam points out that Mega Man has always been nonlinear. Yes, this is true. But there's a little bit more like odd nonlinearity to, like, unexpected. Is that the right word?
It's hard to explain without playing the game. But exactly. You're right. It's not okay. So it's not like you have like a character selection screen where you just pick which level you're going to go to. You have to like go to different areas of the map and do different things. And like they tried to make this interconnected world, which is a really cool idea. It just kind of failed in that format a little bit.
It only goes so far.
Yeah.
Like they need that whole. If they're going to go in that direction, they need the whole thing needs to be that direction.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Grindy bits.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that Josh is coming back anytime soon, so let's just move on to the next bullet point here. How far can you bend or blend a genre before it stops being that and becomes a totally new genre?
That's a difficult question.
I think it is
because
too, actually.
It really depends on the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean we named one already, right? Like with Destiny and Borderlands, right? It kind of pushed like it created the looter shooter genre, right? Mm-hmm. So it's no longer, bending genres or blending genres. It is now its own genre of game. So Jade's looking all cute. She's taking over for Josh. So, do you have any other, or like is there a line? Do you think where
I think it happens by accident, right? Like,
sure,
there is no way to make that call. RPG elements can translate to pretty much wherever at this point.
Yeah.
I talked about it in Gears Tactics. Like the reason that we enjoyed it as much as we did is because we were laughing about some of the characters we had,
Sure.
and how awesome they were because of the RPG elements that have been instilled in a strategy game.
Yeah.
So there are certain elements like that can just be added forever and indefinitely.
Well, and I think that while RPG mechanics are maybe the most overused when it comes to like bending or blending genres, I think they're overused because they work the best, right? We talked about it earlier, and we kind of talked about it when you were kind of indirectly talked about it when you were talking on your Gears of War thing. When you invest into a particular character, you become more attached to that character, right? Exactly. So like for the example of your Gears characters, you were more invested in the non-named characters because you put more work into them. You put, more emphasis on like their abilities and how they were going to grow.
I mean, to the point where we even we used our named characters so infrequently, we forgot to give them helmets.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't do it. We looked at their profile. We're like, oh, they're not wearing helmets. Okay. And I made the joke, they're not Carmine. But
so let's rephrase the question then under the lens of RPGs. Like, how far can you take a game with RPG mechanics before it just becomes an RPG? Right? So here's an example. There's some old brawlers like Knights of the Round and King Arthur, shit like that. There's some good ones, good old brawlers that are very much brawlers, but they also use some pretty cool RPG mechanics, but they don't cross that line. They don't cross from brawler to RPG. They stay brawler, but they keep that RPG element. But there's certainly tons of games that kind of do the opposite of that.
Right. I think once you start messing with the gameplay mechanic, like there's a baseline, right? Mm-hmm. In a brawler, you expect to be walking forward and punching stuff or kicking stuff or jumping and whatnot. So once you start bucking that game mechanic, that core, you call it a game loop.
Yeah.
Then you start either branching into a new genre altogether or just becoming an RPG.
Yeah. RPD brought up Guardian Heroes, which is an excellent brawler that has pretty heavy RPG mechanics, but I still say that it stays in the realm of brawler and doesn't cross over too far into RPG. You know?
I don't know that one very well, but I presume by the fact that you're calling it a brawler as a genre, that you're walking forward and punching in or kicking something at some point.
Punching in or kicking something, yes. Yeah.
Mall Brawl could have used some RPG elements, honestly. Like that would have made me more invested in the characters. And I think the fact that it was released as a sort of intermediary between delayed product and nothing at all, I think it was rushed and you're not going to get that feel out of it. But Scott Pilgrim does a great job at that. You can level up your characters in that and change them a little bit. They're still walking forward and punching stuff, and in your case, picking up my corpse and smacking people.
I would say that game's actually closer to an RPG than any of the other ones we've mentioned so far.
But that one's an interesting case too. Is that one was very deliberately set that way because the whole story exists in Scott's head as an RPG.
Yeah.
That one, in addition to being a brawler as a genre, had to have pretty heavy RPG elements to match what was going on in the story.
Yeah.
So that was almost necessary.
For sure. Adam says in the chat, does RPG even exist anymore, or have mechanics become so widespread that it's impossible to make one now? I think they do. What's funny is I think JRPGs have strayed so far from what made them great and have become basically just action RPGs and have kind of lost their JRPG soul. For example, and I know that it's considered to be great, but Final Fantasy VII Remake does not feel like an RPG to me. Like it doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. It doesn't feel like
I agree.
a traditional RPG. And all of the Final Fantasy games that have come out recently have been like that. So
it's kind of like they're trying to shy away from things like Zelda.
Yeah. But I do think you can still. I mean, people make good RPGs all the time, and I think Elden Ring, even though it's not, like a traditional JRPG, really, really embodies a lot of those RPG elements better than a lot of games. Like you get so invested into your character, and you are playing that role, right? That's what a role playing game is. So, let's go on to the next topic. Is there a benefit to blending or bending genres versus sticking to an original formula like JRPGs or platformers? So kind of along the lines of what Adam was saying there. Josh, I think we've been talking for a while. Let's hear from you.
Yes. Sorry, Jade had a little thing.
No,
She's good
cool.
now. Yeah, I think it's obvious that blending and bending is like all beneficial when done correctly in the regards of your franchises become stale and you're really trying to reinvent it in a certain way by adding different elements in it. Like for example, you want to add some RPG elements to kind of make it like more like you're invested in your own character, when in previous games that may not have been an option. So now you can become more invested in the game. I mean, obviously there are downfalls to this.
Sure.
Doing it improperly is literally the only downfall. Is like if you fuck up how you're doing it, the game's gonna feel shitty. Ni no Kuni too. But if you do it right, it can be really amazing. Elden Ring. And then there are I think that's really it. The benefit is like you could reinvigorate your franchise completely with something you didn't know it needed until you implement it.
Yeah.
I think whenever you aim to blend or bend, you're in some way subverting expectations.
Sure.
And there are certain games that you just can't do that with in this way. Pokemon being one of them. But they've found ways recently. So it just, I mean, for the longest time, the core Pokemon, we're back on game loop again, was exactly the same. For the first, I don't know, several generations at least. Now here comes Arceus, and we're like, oh, maybe we can make this an open world game with and really ratchet up the, some of the other grab bag philosophy of gameplay mechanics.
Yeah,
the quest stuff that you would get from an RPG.
As far as Pokemon goes, it completely, undercuts what Pokemon is. You know
right.
what I mean? But gives you a Pokemon game in a way that you're like, okay, still playing a Pokemon game, but like, all these new things, like interesting. And when executed properly, like our fucking ES, I don't even like
Arceus,
the C anymore. Like how they do it, like you can be pleasantly surprised. That's a massive risk though. Like almost literally a coin flip.
It's huge.
Like humongous risk.
When that first dropped, Josh, you and I were both very on the fence. You still, I don't think have it.
Haven't even played it.
And we were like, and he was like, "This game is awesome." So I picked it up, and I was like,
love it.
"Whoa, okay, no, you weren't kidding. This game is great."
But is it only awesome because it's addicting?
No, it's got a good story. It's
The
awesome
only
setting.
thing wrong with it is the graphics kind of suck.
Yeah,
which I don't care about really.
Exactly. I mean, hell, I'm playing green version. It's the most 2D of 2D.
I love old school shit.
Yeah. So I'm not going to complain about the graphics. We've got, what is it, Violet and something, because the only one I care about is Violet. Coming out.
Yeah. I'm actually excited about these games. Yeah.
Sign me the heck up.
Yeah. Especially after playing Arceus. Honestly, if I hadn't played Arceus, I might have skipped it. But Violet and Scarlet look awesome.
Thank you, RPD. Yeah, Violet and Scarlet. It looks great because they took that risk with Arceus, and now we have this hard left turn in the Pokemon
culmination of these new eventually your bends and blends become the new norm if done correctly. Like for example, Violet and Scarlet, let's just paraphrase and pretend that they're going to be open world Pokemon games that are also incorporating everything that like Sword and Shield and everything that came before it did. Arceus plus Sword and Shield Now we're in a completely far removed genre from Red and Blue. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it works so well that it can still be considered the same type of game.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
what the real goal is, to like nail it. People look at it like it's like a top-down Zelda to Ocarina of Time. People
Yeah.
are like, no, you did it so well that Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are still Zelda games, even though I was just playing Link to the Past. Like
Yeah.
you really blended it so well. That's a bend, actually, I would say. Even
And you know, the willingness and this once again, I think this is where Nintendo shines. The willingness to take that risk,
yeah,
and admit when they've done it wrong, and go back to formula a little bit.
we did say that.
We did, but like Paul and I talked about Mega Man Zero. When they acknowledged that the ZX series was too far, they ratcheted it all the way back and started working on, they kept working on Battle Network, which there's a bend. That's a whole different take on Mega Man, but we don't have time for that right now. And they released, I think there was a new X game and certainly Mega Man 11 since then.
Mhm.
Which again, Mega Man 11 had some problems. I'm hoping that I hope the next Mega Man game, addresses some of that issue.
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. I did have one more question, but I feel like we kind of covered that in this last bit anyway. The question was, how does blending games impact existing franchises? We talked about that with Pokemon and so on and so forth. So
it can either break or make them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It can continue them out of boredom, or it can drive them into the ground. Paper Mario.
Sure. But yeah, this is Difficult podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, guys. If you're watching us live, you're on my channel. I stream sometimes. It's been less recently, but I swear to God, I'm gonna be more consistent. I've just had a lot going on.
That's what I say.
All the links are in the chat right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, please share it and like and comment and subscribe, all that stuff too. But sharing is caring, and it gets the word out, right? That's what we really need. And yeah, if you want to yell at me on Twitter, it's at Ryugami Sama. That's where you can find me. Yeah, Josh, where can we find you, man?
Yes, Lord Yeshua and Lord Yeshua TTV on all my socials. Come check me out. Doing almost nothing at all. Man, I don't know. Maybe I'll stream some old games soon.
You should,
get something
dude.
in there. I really want to. I really was trying to stream Kirby, and it kind of bored me. Honestly, I'm almost like I'm on the brink of returning it and like just exchanging it for something else. Like it's that bad that I'm like, I'm not the game, but I'm just like so unentertained.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a fun co-op experience, especially for people who are not experienced with games. But for people like us, it doesn't offer.
And I've played every inch of like I played every Kirby game, and I'm like, I know Crystal Shards is the best one. Oh, we're getting a port of that on the Switch. I'd rather just play that for free. Like, you know what I mean?
Stream it, homie.
Stream that would be good. And Colin has already said he wants to 100% it with me, so we could very well stream that. But I definitely want to do the Illusion trilogy as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Maybe skipping Gaia, but maybe not, because it has been like 12 years since I've beaten that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll get back on it, and that's all I got.
Cool, Zach. How about you, man?
I'm on Twitch at Another Letdown. I will be live this week, Wednesday, for we're finally starting Mass Effect. It was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, but finally going to get to that replay of the Mass Effect trilogy. We'll see how far we get before I have to go on hiatus, which I haven't really talked about yet, but I will at some point. And Saturday we'll be watching paint dry. I'm finishing up the Brotherhood of Mutants with the Blob. All ready to go over here. And then I'm on Twitter at DENONCZD. You can holler at me. I'll probably ignore you.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks again. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. See ya.